Hello, friends, and welcome back to Real Life Conversations for Christian Coaches. I'm Teresa McCloy.
And I'm Erica Vinson. We're so glad you're listening in. Here on the podcast each week, we want to have real conversations to help you grow successful and sustainable coaching businesses and yet still stay grounded in what truly matters.
We show up each week to share with you practical tools, honest stories, sometimes too honest, but honest stories from our own experience as coaches, as well as invite some guests on the show that we feel like will really help you live into rest, not rush.
So, whether you're just getting started or you've been coaching for years, you're in the right place. Let's dive into today's conversation.
Well, Erica, here we are finally wrapping up this series. We have been here most of the summer for 7 weeks, actually, almost 8, talking through these 7 P's of business for Christian coaches. So, what are the 7 areas to pay attention to in your business? And before we go too far, one last time, we're going to announce the beautiful download that we have that goes with this series that reviews all 7 Ps. So why don't you share where that link can be found?
Yes, the reallifeprocess.com/7, SEBEN. We spell real life with one L, but you will want to grab that download. It has some worksheets, some questions, some great bullet points just to continue to actually offer you a place to review your business too. And so we're excited about that as you move forward.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just, sometimes we go into this work because we're passionate from our heart to help others. And then we realize, and we hear this all the time from coaches, there's a whole nother side to this thing that we didn't even consider. And that is the business side. Now, I'm one of those crazy people that I love the business side of things. And so to get to do work of being a coach, showing up with others in the coaching space, and then also build a business at the same time, just is really something I'm passionate about. And that's where these 7 Ps came from, is really me listening to other coaches. And as they're trying to build businesses, going, oh, what's a way that I can remember and think about this? So this is something we teach inside of our coach training program, but we wanted to bring it here to the podcast to say, take a look at this. It's being a good steward of what God has given you. And today we're going to finish out the 7P with the one that probably we don't want to talk about the most, but it is the truth. And I couldn't not include it. And again, I think it's one of the things that sometimes business plans don't talk about. And that's the fact that you will have problems. So this P is all about problems. So let's talk about that from God's perspective here as we think about it.
Well, James 1:5 says, if any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. So thank goodness we're talking about problems, but there is a solution. It's
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And God invites us to face our obstacles. We even talk about that when we think about being a good coach. It's that growth mindset. It's the, what does this make possible? Where is this going? It's the forward energy of not staying stuck there and having a process. And there's lots of processes for solving problems. If we're talking from a very deep spiritual space, it might be a discernment process that's really needed. It might be a decision process. If you're just talking about how do I fix this task problem, it might just be a decision. So there's lots of ways. We're going to walk through kind of a 5-step process of, I've got a problem. I'm going to think about it in a bigger way. I'm going to use some tools to kind of get me moving. But God invites us to face our obstacles with faith, with wisdom, and the courage to act, the courage to move forward. So let's dive in. There's lots of different problems, and most of them will relate back to the 7 Ps. So what types of problems, Erica?
Yes. Well, one of these may catch your attention. You might even have a specific thing that comes to mind as you're kind of filtering this conversation today, but it might be a process problem. something that you're noticing in your processes. It could be a project problem, something that comes up in the projects you're working on. It might be a people problem. And it might be a task problem. So think about those. As I said, maybe one rises to the surface. And so as we talk through these steps, you might even keep that kind of in the forefront of your mind as we talk about these possibilities. So, what's step one as we're looking at how we might even move into these obstacles?
Yeah. Well, before I go there, I want to give a little bit of an examples here from each of these. So, a process problem could be something breaks in a system. You're like, oh, I've got an onboarding system for my clients, or a way that I do scheduling, or a way that I offboard a client. And then you notice it doesn't go as smooth. Okay, that's a process problem. Something, there's a step missing in a project, and we'll talk about it a little bit, but if you break it down, and we have in the download a mind map tool, that if you break down that project and you put some actionable steps with moving that project forward, you may come to a fork in the road, even that you couldn't foresee. You couldn't foresee that the software you thought would work doesn't work the way you thought it would. Once you got in or you purchased the trial version, it's not what you thought it was going to be. And so the project takes a turn. It's not a problem that's insurmountable, but you have to go back and redo the project in a different way. A people problem of maybe you don't feel like a client's a great fit for you, or they keep not showing up at the scheduled time. And you're like, is this due to a process that I have that's not communicating with them when their appointment is? Or is this due to we're not a good fit for each other, or they're not committed to, I've got a problem. Again, not unsolvable, but I have to pause and take a look at it. And a task problem, and you and I talked offline of like, I get in to use the software and it's updating. Zoom updates all the time. Or, I lost my login. I don't know where it's at. So, oh, I need to have a better system to put my login somewhere. And we talked about that in the people with vendors and things like that. So all of these can feel like little things, but the anxiety or the getting ourselves worked up about them, when we just really need to look at them and do step one. What's the problem? Define it. Start by just stating, what's wrong here? Where does it fit? Giving it some language. Oh, this is part of my process. This is actually in the people category. And then write it down maybe in the center of a mind map or somewhere so that you can move on to step two.
Mm. And then step two really helps to get us up on the balcony a little further and starts to shift our problem to a possibility. So step two is brainstorming possibilities. And we can use a mind map again to create some circles from that central project, and then start to think about what are some possible solutions? What are some actions? What are some areas that you might like to explore, even from the problem that you've noticed? And just be free. If this were, if I could see myself on the other side of this obstacle and things were working, what would be possible? I love one of our friends and your close mentor, Dan Miller, always said, what does this make possible?
Mm.
It really lifts our face when we get, face down into a problem and go, oh, I'm so discouraged. It lifts our face. So,
And there's some different ways you can look at this. I think, is there something I just need to take immediate action on? I just need to kind of put a Band-Aid on it right this minute. And then that might go up on your mind map. You might brain dump, are there some longer term strategies that I can see? Like, oh, a year from now, this actually, I think is a problem, but it's probably going to benefit me. And are there any resources that I need? Maybe drop those on the mind map. And then what might be a challenge as I look at this problem? Is this going to take me longer to solve than I think it is? Or is this really like a 30-minute or less? There used to be this little rule that they used to say about email. If it comes in and you can answer it in less than 5 minutes, do it in the moment. If it's going to take you longer than that, then maybe you leave it in your inbox to come back to. Now we can set the little reminders that it pops back up again. But, kind of evaluate, how long is this going to take me? And is this a challenge I can solve? And I don't even need to mind map. I just need to take action and do it. So, thinking through immediate action, long term strategies, resources that are needed, and what might some challenges be could all be dumped out. What we tend to do is just go, I'm going to fix this, or this is frustrating. I'm done. And we walk away. And the problem's still going to be there next time you onboard the client, offboard the client, try to work with your scheduler. You and I have held each other in accountability so many times around these kind of things that frustrate us. And we know if we just sit down and take an hour,
Yeah.
some of those things we can work through. But what's the third step?
The third step is to organize and prioritize. So now you're taking the ideas from your brainstorming, and those start to come in conversation often. I can't tell you how many times I've been in a session with a client and they go, I thought I'd really had this planned out. And now that I'm talking about it, some new possibilities
Mhm.
emerging. So use that conversation in your relational equity there in step 2 to move you to step 3. And then you're going to start in step 3, really grouping some similar things together. Are there ideas that actually connect, that support each other? And you can kind of form some subgroups underneath the main categories that you have. And then you want to actually think about what's the impact of this
Mhm.
idea, and how feasible is it or realistic? Do I have the capacity for it? What time is required? And you can be creative here and use color, symbols, numbers, priority, however it matters to you, to start to actually give some priority to these ideas that you're coming up with.
And so organizing and prioritizing. So starting to group and then developing those action steps. And actually in your download, there's actually even a sheet to go, this is what I would do first, this is what I would do second. Um, as Eric and I coach so often, we end up doing these mind apps with people because they are so productive for someone to think in this way. And sometimes I'm embarrassed by my mind map that I do for a client because it's got blue and it's got red, it's got orange, and it's got all these symbols. But it is just that free form thinking that then we can take down into step 4 and say, okay, now what would you do first here? Do you need to gather your resources? Do you really need to do a whole nother mind map about long-term strategy? Like, so much comes out of this. But then the last step, step number 5, is to set a time on your calendar to actually go, I'm going to take this actionable step plan that I have now, and I'm going to move it into real time. I'm going to put a project block on my calendar somewhere, either this week or next, to start working on this project. And I often say, depending on the immediate problem and how quickly you need to solve it, but within 2 weeks, to really look at your calendar and say, I'm going to do this. Now that we have technology, I often say to clients, I'm going to take a screenshot of this and I'm going to send it to you over my phone. Or do you want to take a screenshot right now so that you can see that mind map, see the action steps, and review them on a regular basis when you come to that project block time? You dive in with your very first action step.
Yeah, I'm going to be so bold as to say that this is the linchpin for solving problems.
It
It's
is.
that buy win. We can
Mhm.
all come up and are capable of coming up with action and things that are possible. But unless we take the step forward and put them on our calendar, they do not happen. And this is crucial.
It's
And
the
it's
game
also
changer.
freeing.
Yeah, it is. It's the game changer no matter what your personality type is, forward moving, away moving, whatever it is, it's the date that matters. Starting it, getting on your calendar. And I often encourage clients, if they're using a technology calendar, to set it up as repeatable. Like every Thursday morning, I'm going to work on this for 30 minutes or an hour till the problem is solved, till it's complete, till the process is done, till I've updated the purpose, whatever it is that you're working on. But set it up as repeatable. So when something else comes, you actually have to make a choice in the moment that you've pre-decided that it was important for you to work on this because you know it'll move you forward, either personally or professionally. These are not, this whole system is not just about business problems. There could be other things that you use this kind of process for. 5 steps. Erica, let's just go through them one more time, all 5 of them, just read them through so that we can capture them.
Yeah. Step 1, define the problem. Step 2, brainstorm your possibilities. Step 3, organize and prioritize. Step 4, develop action steps. And step 5, set time on your calendar.
Wow. So good. So good. And if you've never worked with a mind map tool, download the free resource at thereliveprocess.com/7. It's one of the best tools that I think it's one of our signature tools that I think can make all the difference in problem solving is doing that written part. Don't just leave it in your head. Get it out, get it on paper, play with it, mess with it, and take it to a coach. Take it to a coaching session and have that conversation back and forth. So that's our 7th P. It sounds like we end on a low note when we talk about problems, but to me, we end on a high note because we have a way to work through those problems. So many coaches that I've worked with over the years say, oh, I'm going to set up my business and, then I'm just going to go coach and it's going to be great. And I never want to burst anyone's bubble, but our business is always in process. It's always in growth and process. And these 7 Ps you'll be using them for the rest of the time that you have a business. Purpose and plan and, having a products and services. You'll be getting new ones. You'll be finding new particulars that you think you should be tracking in your business because it's grown and maybe some you don't track anymore. And you'll be designing processes. You'll be working with clients and vendors and team in the people category, and you'll be having problems. You will have problems, I just want to say. And so all of these matter. This is going to be a great series for you as a coach to come back to over and over again. Erica, thanks so much for just letting us do this, like having these conversations, because it's even good for me. I teach this often over and over to coaches and customers, clients that I work with, but I'm always reminded for my own business to stay aware, to stay awake, and to realize that I'm not trying to build a side hustle. I really want either a part-time or a full-time business.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and as you're reflecting on this 7th and final P of problems, here's a question just for you to consider. It's what keeps me from stepping forward, solve problems with confidence and faith. And so spend some time with that. And as Teresa said, it's not to end on a low note, but with problems become possibilities. And it is the way forward is the way through. And so use this resource, go back, even in the beginning, that very first page has that great little self-evaluation tool for your business. You can do it individually or for if you have a team, and just notice where you are, not for the purpose of just scoring to go, oh, this is where I'm weak, but use it as a place of celebration too. And we do the same, and we're grateful to be with you.
And how do you want to move forward? As you said, it's the next right small step. One step every day in any of these 7 Ps. Just choose one. What's the one in the next quarter that you're going to work on? Erica, it's been great to walk through this. We will be back next week with something new and different and sharing with you. We'll start to have some guests on this fall that you can look forward to that really are help you going to pay attention to that inner life that you're working on so that you can show up your best with others. So remember, friends, every ordinary day has an extraordinary moment. You just have to look for it. We'll be back next week with more from the podcast.
Have a blessed week, everyone.